It is not?
Well, no, they'll cover that was on the show. They're not going to cover this.
The meat, okay.
Because this is not my, and again, that's what the government believes and says they're doing.
When you say the government, that's a broad stroke. You're painting, you're using a broad brush. Like, what do you mean by the government?
Breakaway rogue intelligence agencies.
Okay, so what you're saying is essentially that they're using psychedelic drugs to communicate with interdimensional beings. All right.
Yeah, spirit guides.
Okay, everyone who's done a high dose of psychedelic drugs has had this experience. So everyone who's listening to you right now who's done DMT or done 5 grams of psilocybin, they know that this is you have some kind of communication with something else. The question is that something else inside your psyche, or is that something else a chemical doorway? Question. Is there a chemical doorway inside the mind that opens up? And the belief is that when you die, and this is what the afterlife is, that when you die, your brain produces these chemicals. These chemicals open up this doorway, and this is the portal to the next dimension. So you're saying that the government is aware of this, and they must be aware of this. They've heard enough people talk about it. They must have done experiments on it.
What do scientists do? They want to know the secrets of the universe.
For sure. And people that have the courage to experiment with these things and try them themselves realize that this is such a profound experience that it's so alien that if an alien landed right now in our parking lot and a little gray man with big black eyes got out, it would be nothing compared to what I've seen on psychedelic trips.
Well, let me just tell you. Me getting into this, Joe, is just because so people need to understand that I've known about this for a long time. And I just don't think people are ready for it. But a lot of folks who have low oxygen and who have
9-volt brains.
Well, who have sleep apnea, big necks, big heads, tongues go big.
Like you and me.
You go down to 62% oxygen. That's another time that the brain releases.
I believe that when you're dreaming, it's most likely the same chemicals that are being released.
Well, a key point, when you go into the REM sleep, it opens the gate, which scientists have proven your brain is working in the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension. And if you can work into those dimensions, you can see beyond it. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. I know you already know all this, Joe. But for your audience, here's what's happening. I'm not saying you're bad. I never said you were in the CIA. I say the CIA is on record with Timothy Leary and everybody promoting hallucinogens in the 60s. They admitted that it was a plan to try to see what it would do in the public to make them more suggestible. But there's a larger program, and then they kind of backed off because it kind of got out of control and actually created some people that were actually fighting them. So it didn't have the effect they wanted. So then they moved on to the ayahuasca and the DMT that they promoted, which good, strong people that have a compass don't have problems with, but weak-minded, stupid people and others. Here's an example. This guy's smart. Eric Mancal Muller, syndicated radio host. I've known him like 15 years.
You just lost me.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story.
You said he's smart.
He's a nice guy.
No, I'm just kidding.
He''s a smart guy. Don't be mean.
I've been on his show before.
He likes you.
I like him too. I'm just fucking around.
Everybody's on this quest. Mm-hmm. And I told you I've talked to like 100 people. I've talked to more. Because a lot of people are going and doing these DMT and ayahuasca trips outside Austin. They're doing them all over the place.
Yes.
And I'm on his show, and he's telling me the same story everybody tells me about being in Peru or being in Costa Rica. He went and did 2 trips down there. And he said, yeah, we're sitting there and we take the ayahuasca, and then all these basically aliens come out of the woods, and we're all seeing the same aliens. We're all hearing the same thing. And it's like 43 of us or whatever seeing it. And he goes, but it was the drug's effect on our brains. No. A drug, everyone sees something different. When you open a gate, and now, interdimensionally, your brain's already filtering out most stuff because you can't handle it. Your eyes are already seeing it, kind of like a cat when it's like seeing something, or a dog.
Well, when that's sage.
What you got here? You smoking this,
No,
Joe?
bro. No, you light it up to kill the demons in the room. This Native American lady gave me this. She came in to talk to us about. I got in this long kick of reading about Native American history.
Yeah.
They actually, a lot of them refer to themselves as American Indians. But and then this lady came in and was educating me on a lot of the issues and brought me some sage to clear out all the bad spirits.
Yeah, no, I believe in a lot. I believe in a lot of these rituals and whatnot. Actually, not too long ago, I was actually with Uncle Mike.
Yeah, you told me that.
With Mike Tyson and
get rid of demons right now, bro.
Yeah.
Demons, be
Don't
gone.
don't start shaking back there, man.
No, we'll be all right. Jamie's no demon. You never know.
Yeah, but I was able to, because, as you know, Mike has always talked about the toad,
Yes.
And I believe you've done the toad, too.
Yeah, what the toad is, what you're referring to, is 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine that's excreted by the toad's skin. They take this type of toad, I forget the name of the toad, but they get it excited and excrete this stuff from its skin onto glass, and then they leave that glass out in the sun, and it dries, that excretion dries, and then you scrape it up with a razor blade, and then you smoke that stuff. Or you could just get a synthetic version of it. Colorado river toad, that's what it is. Sonoran desert
Yeah,
toad.
it's Sonoran.
Yeah. And you can find the center of the universe through the excretions of this toad's
Oh, my
body.
God, it's a trip,
It's crazy.
Joe. It's a trip. So,
Have you done
anyways.
anything before this? Before you did this, have you any experiences with psychedelics?
Yeah, I've done I've done mushrooms, and obviously I smoke, which I don't know where all the
Weed?
Mary Jane is, but
It's right here, bro. You want some? Come on, you're retired.
yeah, why not, man?
Come on, Jeff Nowitzki. Leave him alone. Nowitzki actually wanted everybody to be able to. He's one of the first guys to say it's nonsense. It's not a performance enhancer. Although with Nick Diaz, I think it might be.
Yeah.
I think with Nick Diaz, it might actually be a performance enhancer. I really think so, man. When he fought Gomi, they said he had to have gotten high. He had so much weed in his system when they tested him that he had to have gotten high right before the fight.
Yeah. Light that up, Joe. You puff pass or?
Of course.
So I'm gonna share my story with you, Joe,
Please
and I
do.
want you to share yours with me.
Okay.
What type of leaf is this?
Well, that's tobacco on the outside, so it's a blunt, and then the inside it's the weed. I get this from Speed Weed. Shout out to my man Gino. Gino
So anyway,
Gentile.
so check this out. You imagine doing the toe with somebody like Mike?
I get high with Mike and I got nervous. Just when I'm nervous when I meet him. Look, he was one of my heroes. When I was a kid, Mike Tyson was the fucking man. I mean, in a way that it's hard for people to convey today, to understand what a cultural figure Mike Tyson was in like 1986. It's hard to convey. No one's gonna understand. Youngest ever heavyweight champion. Knocks out Trevor Berbick when he's 20 years old.
Yeah,
he
that
was
the same guy that beat Ali, right?
Trevor Berbick beat Ali late in his career when it was real sad. It was a real sad fight. It was a real sad fight.
But it's touching. Remember when Ali went in the ring and gave Mike like a little pep talk?
Yeah.
And then Mike went out there and knocked that dude out in the
Yeah.
first round.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah. Muhammad Ali's like, fuck this dude up for me, will you?
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, to get back to that, Joe. So
Yeah.
I've actually been shadowing Mike Mike Tyson for like the last. I'm good friends with his manager Rob Hickman, and just the stuff that they're doing at Tyson Ranch, man, is it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's really cool, right?
Yeah, they're bringing medicine to the world. So Mike, I've been on his podcast. He's always talked about the toad. I was like, all right, so I became good friends with. I call him Uncle Mike, man, because he's just, he scolds me a lot. Every time he sees me, he's always, he'll compliment me, but then he'll scold me at the same time. So he always talked about the toad. I'm just like, well, let's do it then, Mike. Let's do it, Uncle Mike. So he's like, man, dude, you sure you want? I'm like, yeah, man, you've been talking about it for a minute. So, so we go on this, they have this whole real nice setup, man, with rituals or whatnot. And we go out to Antigua, which is an island off the Caribbean. We have I forget what they're called, the person that
Shaman?
Yeah, shaman. I'm sorry. And he's out there, and Mike goes first. So imagine this: Mike Tyson does it. Mike Tyson's he's doing it. He's going a bit crazy, man. Because a lot of what that does is it brings out a lot of your, as you say, you open up the stage, a lot of your demons, a lot of things that you probably been holding on to for a minute. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing Mike over here twist and turn and kind of talk about a lot of. I don't want to share that stuff, but. Talk about a lot of his past, man. And it's me, as you said, he's an idol, he's a legend. That's the way I look at Mike too. So I'm over here hearing him, I'm almost like tripping out, but at the same time intrigued. Because So then I go up and I do it, and man, it took me to, especially out of retirement here, man. Like I almost kind of somewhat wanted answers. I was hoping that it would give me, okay, man, this is like the path or whatnot. And it took me to my mom's, like, your mom's like first love, man. You know, and it showed me like in a story, like, almost like in a movie. You know, how I was born, how my mom had me, how by the time I was 8 years old, like I had my sister, so I was no longer the youngest, how my mom kind of like, you know, and in all fairness, kind of somewhat pushed to the side, leaving home at the age of 17 and substituted my mom's love for self-fulfillment, wrestling, mixed martial arts. And it brought me back to a little kid when I was maybe 4 or 5, when I would cry to my mom, because I remember as a kid we would go from LA to New Mexico, like in Greyhounds, and I remember stopping at McDonald's and things like that. But to me, you know, as a kid, you don't know you're poor, but what that did is that brought me back to the person that created me. That brought me back to my mom's love, man. So it resurrected something in me. And I was crying. I was asking for like forgiveness. I was speaking in Spanish. "Mamá, perdóname," like, "Mom, forgive me." Wow. It was something. It was something scary in some ways, because it does. It takes you out of your body. Like it's almost like you're in judgment day, and you're the one that's being convicted, and you're the judge too. And it's telling you, but it's giving you this certain peace. It's like you're so dead that you're alive.
Whoa.
It's a trip, Joe. I don't know which ones you had, but this is what I can share, what I can experience. Like it was cool, man, because I was able to do it with special people. I did it with Kelvin, like we all did. Like it was already formally planned. And then my brother back there, my mentor, probably pissed at me because they look out for me a lot. But man, it was something that, you know, as an adult, you know, you have the rights to make these decisions and share if it's good. And I felt like the Toad was probably one of the best things that's happened to me, like, honestly, because it makes you realize and reflect on what truly matters.
I think there's a fear of it just because it's illegal. I really think that's it. And it should be respected. It's very dangerous in that sense, that it could not that it could do harm to you physically. If it's the real deal, it's not going to do harm to you physically. Your body has it in it. Your body knows what to do with it. It's one of the reasons why it's such a quick trip. Your body knows how to bring that stuff back to baseline very quickly. That's why it's only like a 15-minute trip.
Yeah.
But it's not bad for you all the time. I think it's like it's a really powerful thing it's got to be respected. It could fuck you up if you're not ready. If you have some distorted versions of the world that you're operating under. For me, one of the things that made me feel like right away, one of the first things was realizing how much of like the way I talk about things is like calculated. I was trying to figure out, like, I would say things in a way that I wanted people to say, "Ooh, he phrased that cool." Like I would try hard to impress people with the way I was saying things. And I was realizing that as I was trying to describe the trip after it was over. I was like, that's interesting. Like, so that probably leads to a disconnect between me and someone who's listening, because it's not 100% what's going on in my head. It's at least a little bit showmanship and bullshit. And it made me realize it in that moment. Like, and I think it probably made me a better everything. Probably made me a better comedian. Probably made me a better podcaster.
Also,
everything.
it's been a minute. When did you do this for the first time?
The first time I did it was early 2000s.
Oh,
so I guess we're looking at like 2002-ish, somewhere around then.
Yeah.
That was like the first time I did it. Last time I did it was about 2 years ago. But the last time I did it, I did the other kind, the NN dimethyltryptamine. Actually, maybe a little less than 2 years ago. It was NN dimethyltryptamine, which is, that's the different version. That's the version of it that's in ayahuasca. That's the version of it. There's a bunch of different snuffs and different ways that people try to get that stuff into their system. But smoking it is the quickest. Smoking it gets you vaporize it, and it gets you right to the center of the universe immediately. And all those things, you know, I think, man, one of the cool things about life, like what you're talking about in your journey as a man, your journey as a champion, your journey to become better and to show what you're capable of. all of this is because no one gets it right. You don't just get it right. Like, you fuck it up and you try to do better and you fail and then you figure out what went wrong, and you just constantly analyze whatever you're doing and obsess on it, and you can become better at that thing, and through that you can understand that you can be better at anything. And I think when any kind of psychedelic where you have an opportunity to look at yourself, just really look at yourself accurately, you're not going to like it, but it's going to give you great benefit, because it's going to give you're going to be able to see yourself honestly and see whatever those flaws. Don't get mad that you have all these flaws. Just fix them. Just fix them. Do your best to fix them. And you're not going to get it right, because ego's still going to come creeping back in your life, and ego's still going to hold on to your legs and drag you down while you're trying to run. You know? That's what it is. Ego's like hanging on your ankles while you're trying to run. Like, come on, stay the same.
Yeah.
But you can't stay the same and get better. The way you get better is to relax and to realize that, you know, all your fuck ups, all the fails, that's not you. Just because you lost a match doesn't mean you're a loser. You just lost. Like, you should be happy that you got this opportunity to feel terrible, because through that opportunity to feel terrible, that's where all the growth comes from. If you can survive it. Some people can't survive it, right? We all know those guys that were really good in the gym, and they had like 1 or 2 matches or 1 or 2 fights, and they just couldn't handle the pressure for whatever reason. They couldn't handle the things that went wrong, and they just didn't want to do it anymore. But they could have been like a world beater. You know, everyone knows that guy.
Yeah.
Right? And what is wrong with that guy? Well, that guy's got one aspect of your 2-part thing that you were talking about, heart and ability, right? He's got one aspect. He's got the ability. But he's got a missing part, and he doesn't want to look at it. Because if he wanted to look at it, he would concentrate entirely on that, and he would get better at that. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to look at yourself. Psychedelics let you look at yourself. Like, hey, stupid, look at you. Remember the last time I did DMT, there was a string of jokers, like jesters with the bells on, dancing in front of me going like this. Fuck you. Just openly mocking me. And I was like, oh, that must be what I need. I must need that. I'm like, that's good. That's good to see.
Yeah, it's definitely an ego check, man, big time.
Dissolves it,
man. Like with Mike, like, he loves it, dude, and he's, you know, he owes it to the toad. You know what I'm saying? Like, that said that he said that's been a big reason why he's changed his life. You know, Mike wasn't doing so well until he tried this, and he talks about it all the time on his podcast. So
it gives you an opportunity to shift.
It's healed drug addicts. I mean, drug addicts have gone from doing all kinds of crazy where they tried the toad and they completely just left everything. Guys that they left like almost like a dead man walking to, hey, he's alive again. He's here with us.
enough to be born a human being at all.
Yes.
You know, just to be alive is an extraordinary mystery.
Yes.
To have the ability to love, to feel emotions, to understand beauty, to be moved by a symphony. All of these things we take for granted, but actually they're deeply mysterious. We don't really know what we are or who we are, and which is one of the reasons I'm so fascinated by Rick Strassman's work. You presented his film DMT, the spirit molecule, and on my upcoming speaking tour, I'm going to be doing an event with Rick on the 14th or 15th of May in Sedona. I think it'll be the first time that Rick has spoken publicly for quite a while. Rick has a colleague called Andrew Gallimore, who teaches at the University of Okinawa. In soon as possible.
Where do I go?
It's very close. Imperial College. It looks like Imperial College London is going to deploy this technology in further research into DMT, and that research is not going to be purely and simply into the therapeutic potential of a psychedelic, which is very important research to do. It's going to be an investigation into the nature of reality using a psychedelic, the mysterious nature of reality. And it is odd, and you know this from personal experience, that when you get plunged into that DMT realm, it is so different from the realm of our daily world, filled with geometry, filled with these sprightly intelligences, completely internally coherent. How can that be generated by the brain? Or are we dealing with some other level of reality that we haven't encountered yet? I think that ancient cultures, and in particular my lost civilization, were deeply involved in exploring the mysterious nature of reality.
More interesting stories out of the last decade or so was this story that I read about these scholars in Jerusalem that were connecting the story of the rich and DMT. And they believe that, when you're talking about a story that was told through oral traditions for who knows how many years, and then written down in ancient Hebrew, and then transcribed and, and translated to Greek and Latin and all these, there's a lot lost in the mix. And they believe that what that story might have been about, of Moses coming down from Mount Sinai with the tablets and having the experience with meeting God in a burning bush, that what this is in fact was a dimethyltryptamine experience.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's a big maybe.
It's a big maybe. I can say that if you go to the south of Mexico in Chiapas, there's a tree that grows there as a weed called Mimosa hostilis. Maybe you're familiar with it. And this is so abundant that it's used to make fence posts. All the fences on the side of the road are made of Mimosa hostilis. It's used as firewood to cook meals. The air smells like DMT because people are using it as fuel all over the place. Not a single person that I spoke with was aware that it was psychoactive. And these are people that are burning it all the time.
Do they get high from it? Is there, like, if you were in a tent or something like that, and you were doing a hot box sort of scenario, would you get high from it?
No, I saw no. Would you? It maybe, it's about 2% DMT. So
you'd probably have to get so sick from, you'd be coughing. And
yeah, it would be even just smoking pure crystal DMT can be very difficult for some people. So my guess, not to be like a wet blanket, but my guess is not really. And that's a very strong source, as strong as maybe there's some acacias stronger, but that's certainly comparable. And that's something people are using to cook food all the time, and they're not aware that it's psychoactive.
So was there a way, or is there a way, for a person living thousands of years ago to somehow or another extract DMT from something like the acacia tree?
I actually spent some time thinking about that a while ago. It would be, first of all, it depends on how you define extraction. If it were to, in like an ayahuasca sense, like a tea, of course, yes. But then they would need some sort of enzyme inhibitor to create the ayahuasca. If it were to create an isolated smokable form, again, you could just do like an aqueous infusion and then dry that out and maybe smoke that. But in terms of like a real extraction that would produce crystals of DMT, I don't know what the non-polar solvent they would be using to extract the freebase would be, like butter or something. And then how would you get rid of the butter?
So what is the process? Like if you're going to take a tree that's rich in DMT and extract DMT from it, what do you have to use?
Have you ever done it before?
No, I've never done it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a very generalizable and simple process that applies to almost everything in chemistry. It's, sometimes it's called an acid-base extraction. Most people that are in the DMT community go something they call straight to base. And the idea is that the side chain of the DMT molecule contains a basic nitrogen that if it's protonated in an acidic solution, then it's water soluble. And if it's deprotonated, then it's only soluble in a nonpolar solvent. So what you do is you just deprotonate the nitrogen with a base, potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide typically, and then treat that aqueous basic solution with a nonpolar solvent like naphtha and isolate the naphtha, dry it out, and you have your material. And that applies to everything. That's not a DMT specific process, but that's what people do. Everything with a basic nitrogen.
Now, what's the earliest history of extraction?
Well, the first wave of DMT use in the United States was all synthetic. In fact, DMT was discovered synthetically before it was ever found in nature. The same is true of 5-MeO-DMT.
How did they do that?
There was a Canadian chemist named Richard Helmuth Mansky who I believe was looking at different alkaloids in strawberry plants, and he was synthesizing references for these potential strawberry alkaloids and made DMT. So he didn't know what he had made other than a potential natural product found in strawberries. And then it wasn't until Zara, much later, conducted self-experiments with injected DMT that people became fully aware of its psychoactivity, and then people started finding it in plants. I mean, the 1950s were and early 60s were, of course, a fascinating time in psychedelic research because you have these convergences of these amazing ideas. First, you have the discovery of serotonin, which is like, we take this for granted. Now it's in television commercials, but this was, of course, something that no one knew about. And suddenly they're finding this in all kinds of different animals. Initially, it was in the salivary glands of squid and in different animals. And then they're finding it in the human intestine. Then they're also finding that all of these plants that people worshipped in various indigenous societies also contain serotonin-like molecules. Then they discover LSD and find that that's maybe the most potent known pharmacological agent at that time. And it binds to serotonin receptors. It activates a serotonin-type response in isolated tissue. So there's like this weird triple convergence of information. Super potent, amazing compound LSD is discovered. Serotonin is discovered in all these different organisms, and there's a pharmacological convergence between the two of them. And then you have all these people worshiping serotonin-like molecules. So there was, a lot of enthusiasm at that time to figure all of this out.
So in terms of history, so we're talking about like somewhere in the 1950s, they started extracting DMT. The use of it orally dates back far longer than that because of use of MAO inhibitors and creating ayahuasca. But in terms of the first extraction, we can kind of
From
isolate.
plants to smoke?
Yeah.
It might have been even later. It might have been in the 80s.
Okay. So the idea that people thousands of years ago were able to do something along those lines is probably not accurate. Because they're talking about a burning bush. That's why it's appealing to people, right? The idea of Moses. Do you think that maybe the understanding of synthesis from synthesizing this from these scholars, maybe they don't have enough of an understanding of chemistry?
Well, what would be really interesting is to do an experiment to see what were the materials that were available. How would this have been done? Would you have to use butter as your nonpolar solvent? How well would that work? What would your butter preparation be done? Would you take it rectally then? Is that how it would work? I mean, you have to kind of, what would your base have been?
Well, I think they were talking about it being something from, burning, right? A burning bush. Maybe it's just one of those things that sort of gets conflated, right? Because you have people today that are very aware that people smoke DMT and have these incredibly intense religious psychedelic experiences. And then maybe they looked at the acacia bush and said, oh, the acacia bush is rich in DMT. That's probably where the Moses story came from.
Right. Well, what's really interesting is, DMT has never been found in the human brain, even though Rick Strassman says that it has been. So a lot of people are constantly assigning altered states of consciousness to DMT, but we can have these states without DMT. I mean, maybe it's never been found in the human brain, but also there's ethical and experimental issues with sampling fluid from a living human's brain.
Right, but they have found it in living rats, right?
Yes,
this is fairly recently.
Yes,
this is the Cottonwood Research Foundation. That's their attempt is to try to prove that the pineal gland is a source for DMT. We know that DMT exists in the human body. We know that the liver produces it, and we know that the lungs produce it.
Yeah.
We're not totally aware of whether or not there's anecdotal evidence that points to the pineal gland.
Based on the rat idea and based on the presence of certain enzymes that could be responsible for it. But even if it is, then what? There's still a whole question of how is it released, how is it distributed, what receptors does it activate, and is it even necessary as an explanation for altered states of consciousness? Because there are other things in the brain other than DMT. DMT has never even been found in the brain, but there are other things. You have endogenous proteins that bind to the kappa opioid receptor, the same receptor that is responsible for the effect of salvia. Things like that, they could be responsible. I mean, even carbon dioxide itself can induce a pretty strong altered state of consciousness.
Right, which is why people like those psychedelic breathing exercises.
Yeah.
They're sort of, is it like hypoxic? Is that what it is? What are they doing when they have those, what is it called? There's a type of breathing exercise that induces psychedelic states.
Holotropic breath work.
Yeah, and that is the idea behind that, right? It increases the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood.
I haven't seen a mechanistic explanation.
Yeah, I think that was.
But it would make sense. In an early LSD psychotherapy, one of the things that they would do before giving someone LSD is they'd give them something called carbogen, which was a gas that contained carbon dioxide, and they would look at their response to the carbon dioxide inhalation. And if it induced a panic response, they would say, maybe you're not psychologically ready for this LSD experience. So that was, you're talking about a test. I mean, that was a very primitive early test that was used by psychiatrists to see if people had the psychological fortitude to withstand the experience.
When you look at the DMT experience and you look at its effect on the human mind, how much of you subscribes to the idea that what we're looking at is some sort of a chemical gateway?
Chemical gateway to
what? Whatever it is. To whatever that DMT experience is. That this is something that your brain has the ability to travel to. But, I mean, since we know that the body does produce this, and we know that it's possible for people to, I mean, I've never done it, but I know that people who do Kundalini yoga have apparently reported trip-like experiences that are very similar to a real DMT flash.
Mm-hmm.
So the mind has this ability to do this on its own. What do you think that is that something worth considering, that this is some sort of a pathway to a nearby dimension or to something that's around us all the time but we just don't have access to with normal neurochemistry?
There's
too many what ifs or who knows?
No, I mean there's so much in what you said where you have to go back and unpack all of these things. When we got excited about DMT, Terrence and me, in the late 60s. What led us to go to La Chorrera was that it seemed like a completely different order of magnitude than any of the other psychedelics. And we came to it really from a childhood that was steeped in science fiction. So we carried with us the idea, this really is another dimension. And it may be a portal to another dimension. And as science fiction nuts, we were totally okay with that.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe DMT was, and maybe it is. Or it somehow pulls the curtain back on something that's around us all the time that we don't see. But again, in thinking about these things, is it something that is entirely within the brain that it originates, or is it something is it like a lens that, or our eyes are covered with filters and DMT temporarily removes those filters? I think it's hard to know. I mean, I think maybe experimentally we could begin to approach this. Have you, and I think we really know. I think that's another thing about natural philosophy. that's important that science is overlooking. And natural philosophy always remembers the limits of what is known, and science is a bit arrogant about what they think is known. Science only understands a small fraction of all there is to know. And ayahuasca and other psychedelic always remind me of this. When I take it, remember the limitations of your knowledge. Or sometimes it more or less kindly says it. Right. You don't know shit. And it's true. We don't know shit, and scientists can forget that, But as far as this DMT thing, this is actually, there's controversy about this because, a lot of people who have worked in this area say it's pretty well established that endogenous DMT can produce these states, that the pineal can secrete DMT under certain circumstances or under stress. The lungs can produce large amounts of DMT that are translocated to the brain. But it's not so clear that goes on. I mean, it's clear that it can be produced, but David Nichols, who knows a thing or two about pharmacology, founder of the Hefter Institute, world's, most authoritative, highest authority when it comes to the chemistry and pharmacology of psychedelics. He's taken a reductionist argument on this that's kind of hard to knock down, which is that DMT is produced endogenously, but it's chopped up so quickly that it never reaches the site of action, and it never reaches the levels at the neuron that it would take to activate the neuron. So
even when consumed, or are you saying endogenously produced DMT?
Endogenously.
So that
it does when you consume it. Obviously, you flood the system and you get much higher levels than is ever produced endogenously. But we haven't really measured the levels produced endogenously during, especially these extreme states. And that's part of the problem. Yeah. That's part of the problem. How do you do that?
Have you done it?
How do you do that? What?
Have you done Kundalini and tried to recreate?
No, I haven't.
Me
done
neither.
It.
I've been. Terrence had that fantastic joke. It was a talk about that this monk had practiced a city of levitation. Do you remember this one? And that the Buddha came to town and he said, for the last 20 years, I've practiced this city of levitation and I can now walk on water. And the Buddha said, yeah, but the ferry's only a nickel.
Right.
So it's like, do you want to practice Kundalini for 10 years and bang your head towards the east, or just smoke DMT? 30 seconds later, you're in the center of the universe.
But I think the last time I was on your show, we talked about this other thing, this ajna light we discussed.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've interviewed.
Yeah, we have to buy you one. I said we've totally dropped the ball on that.
You don't have to buy me
No,
one.
we do have to buy you one.
You want to buy yourself one.
I'm going to buy myself one and you one. This time we're going to do it. We said we're going to. I do too many podcasts. I forget everything.
Yeah, I know. But the ajna light is interesting because, he claims, and that was the conversation we had. He claims, yes, this stimulates endogenous synthesis of DMT.
I'm writing this down right now. Spell it out for me.
AJNA. Ajna Light. And his website is just ajnalight.com. And there's some good PDFs on there that'll explain what this is about.
Get on that, Jamie.
Yeah. And
Jamie's
now Guy
ordering two
Harriman
right
owes
now.
me big time because I just mentioned this on your show. So.
Get it together.
Right. But anyway.
So this light can produce some sort of psychedelic experience.
He claims it stimulates DMT synthesis in the pineal. When you lie underneath it, it's just a bunch of, it looks like a floor lamp, with a rectangular mount, bunch of LEDs underneath it, which he programs with an iPad in different patterns. You lie under it, and it stimulates hypnagogic hallucinations that are a lot like...
that guy looks like an old school freak. Look at him.
He's a Zen monk.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
Amongst other things.
He used to be an Apple engineer. He was
Really?
Steve Jobs' right-hand man when next
He went the right way.
he went the right way.
So he's got this thing. Is that cord going down to her head? I'm having a hard time seeing what's happening. So something's wrapped around her head. That better not be a crystal.
I think
I'll
that's
fucking run out of this
I think
room.
I think it's a deceptive thing. He didn't attach anything to me
Oh,
when I was
it's a
on it. I
perspective
think it's
issue?
the cord going
Okay.
behind her head.
Oh, I see.
So you lie under this thing,
Mhm.
and the first time I lied under it, I thought I got all these colors, I got all these hypnagogic effects, and nice patterns and all that, like a sub-threshold DMT experience. And I said, well, the LEDs are all changing color, right? And that's how I see it. He says, no, they're white. The colors are coming from you. You're supplying the colors. So, okay. So it was interesting, and then we got into the conversation. How do you know this is stimulating DMT? How do you know that's the effect? Turns out it's not so easy to nail that down. Because DMT is so ephemeral in the system, you can't take urine samples or cerebral spinal fluid or anything. It would be gone by the time you did it. So the only way, well, maybe not the only way, but one way you could do it is you could do something called, it's essentially, you couldn't do this to a human because you couldn't get a FDA approval for it, but you could put a microcapillary tube right next to the pineal that will absorb things as they're released, and then you could recover that and say, levels of DMT or higher.
Why couldn't you do that to a voluntary participant?
Voluntary or not, you'd be
Screwing their brain up?
Well, no, not necessarily, but you'd have a hard time getting permission. There might be. You could do it to a rat, though.
Oh.
You could do it to a rat.
Well, that's what Cottonwood Research Foundation's done, right? They've done that. That's how they discovered DMT in the pineal. Didn't they do that to a live rat?
Yeah. That's how they discovered it.
That was the first proof, right?
That was the first proof. Nick Cozy, who's a pharmacologist at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, he was really the first one to show that DMT is, endogenously produced. Now, it's a sigma-1 agonist as well as a serotonin agonist, which is another receptor. And, that's definitely that, but it's not clear what the function is. It's a complicated issue, to figure this out. I'll send you a paper that Nichols wrote, or I'll link you to a video where he discusses this. And it's like, he gave that at the Breaking Convention conference last summer that I was at. And it was like, he was like the big downer of the conference, right? Because everybody has this romantic idea, and he comes along and just squashes it, and it's like, man, you've disappointed a lot of people today. But on the other hand, reality is good.
Very good.
Facts are good. What Guy did do that sort of made me think maybe there is something to it. He's tried pre-dosing with an MAO inhibitor. Just take Banisteriopsis T without the admixture about 30 minutes before going under the light. And then it's much more intense and it's much more prolonged.
You've done this?
I haven't done it. But he claims that, and other people say that it definitely enhances this. So that would indicate that the breakdown of DMT is being inhibited.
Is he claiming that you could reach actual DMT states with this device upon practice? Speaking of mushrooms, this is something that I get wrong all the time. This is one of the other things I wanted to ask you. What is there's some very close relationship that mushrooms have and the absorption of mushrooms have to DMT. Mm-hmm. What is the chemical differentiation?
Okay, very, very slight, actually. The temptation to start drawing structures is almost irresistible.
You want to write some stuff down? Go ahead.
Well,
draw
no,
it down. It'd be
I
awesome.
mean,
Here's a pen.
Do we have a visual
No, we
component
don't, but
to
I'll
this?
save that piece of paper.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get too far into it, but basically, okay, so you've had organic chemistry, yeah?
No.
No? Okay. Well, then this may
I
be
am organic chemistry.
Yeah, you are. Well, you are organic chemistry. Well, this may be a useless thing, but
It's definitely
this
not
is
useless.
the-
Here we go. Well, you can see it up on the wall here. We've got it up on the screen.
oh,
There you go.
okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, we don't have to draw a structure.
You can look at it right here, so you don't have to turn around. Look to your right. Dennis, turn and look. It's on this one as well.
Okay. So, right. So you can see so there's serotonin, psilocin, and dimethyltryptamine.
Wow.
You can see that psilocin and dimethyltryptamine are very close in structure. The only difference is that hydroxy group, that OH group.
That's
they
the
call
only
it.
difference. So with
That's
that
the only
removed,
difference.
psilocin is exactly the same thing as N,N-dimethyltryptamine.
That's correct.
Wow.
But that single trivial difference is what makes psilocin orally active and dimethyltryptamine is not.
Wow. Wow.
Because what's going on with that, the static diagram, a different molecular model would show it. But what's going on is that nitrogen there, when psilocin's in physiological solution, the nitrogen is charged, has a positive charge. The oxygen doesn't have the H there. It has a negative charge. So the nitrogen curls back and is in close association with the oxygen, if this makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
so the enzyme can't get to it. That's why it's orally active, because essentially it can't get to that nitrogen. What that enzyme does is cleave off that nitrogen, monoamine oxidase. It takes away that nitrogen. And it can't do it with psilocin. So that's why psilocin's orally active. It doesn't require an MAO inhibitor. It's just, in some ways, it's the perfect psychedelic because it, no preparation needed. You just bend over and pick the mushroom. No preparation is required, which is probably why very ancient man knew about psilocybin. They couldn't not have if they were living in an environment where it was found.